regarding Canada's history and what's happened since 1867 to current day. A series of events happened that a good friend of Sean and mine found, and Sean was actually part of the team that did this, where they went through history and they constructed a timeline of what exactly happened at key points throughout history. I usually show a timeline page right now that shows all of these dates, and the reason I do that is because these are the dates that we need to get burned into our heads because there are documents associated with it. So, in 1867, the British North American Act was created, letters patent. Time went on, and the Queen had a son out of wedlock, whose name was Edward. So I assume she had a pool guy, or a milkman, or something. That sort of thing was very taboo back then. But she saw that Edward was up to no good. So she wanted to do something to make sure that Edward would not get the throne, that he would not get any power once she passed, because she was getting up there in age, right? So she implemented the Statutes Law Revision Act, which repealed several sections of the British North American Act, one of the major ones being Section 2, which had to do specifically with passing her powers on to her heirs and successors. So her aunt or her nephew or her kid or anyone from her bloodline could not get her power. The British government would have to create a new document to continue lawfully in politics. Well, in 1901, when she died, that's not what happened. The English Parliament ended up giving Edward power, and he didn't get full power like the Queen had, but he was still seated in the throne. So once she died, Britain kind of went into turmoil wondering what they should do. And they held a series of what were called imperial conferences. And they did this from 1901 to 1931. And Canada, as well as the other Commonwealth countries, which were South Africa, Northern Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, us, and I think that was it. We weren't privy to the information that was happening. We didn't find out that the Queen even died. So now England is scrambling, wondering what to do with its Commonwealth countries. So finally, at the end of these imperial conferences in 1931, what came out was the Statute of Westminster. This document solely severed our tie from the English Commonwealth. We were no longer a dominion. At that time, we were granted autonomy and sovereignty, at which time we could also hold constitutional conventions and seat a de jure government. De jure and de facto are two words you're going to be hearing a lot of throughout these presentations. And de jure ultimately means lawful, and de facto means unlawful. So the current government we have today is actually unlawful because they were never elected. They were in place as a part of Britain, and they just swept it all under the rug like there was nothing to see here and carried forward to where we are today. 1982, Trudeau Sr. went to England with the Canada Bill, where they did a bunch of revisions to it, came back with the Canada Act, which included the Charter of Rights and Freedoms and the British North American Act, which, don't forget, I just said is a dead document because Section 2 was repealed. One of the major reasons they wanted to keep this document in play was because of control of our natural resources. We did the math in Alberta alone, and on oil revenue solely, we would have enough to pay for infrastructure, government, police, judicial, education, healthcare, everything across the board, and have a dividend check of $12,000 per Albertan each month. That's a serious amount of money, if managed properly. So, at the end of the day, what we're doing here at The Myth now is teaching people about the Statute of Westminster, how we have the right to hold constitutional conventions, which is the process that we get into in these modules, seat a de jure government, where we tell the government how we want to be governed, not them tell us how we're going to be governed. The dictatorship, I'm sure as we can all agree that we live in now, and it's time that we banded together and did something. And remember what I said about the Statute of Westminster. This document, Canada is actually a corporation. Canada is not a country. And if you look in the Interpretations Act, Canada is described as the external seas and internal waters, which is why we're in maritime jurisdiction. In the Canadian Citizenship Act, a Canadian person is deemed to be a person born on a Canadian registered vessel or a Canadian registered aircraft. No shit. If you go to the mythoscanada.com, on the timeline, Doug has listed, and Sean, all of the documents where you can see word for word what I just said. We hold these meetings with the myth. We don't fabricate things as we go. We only speak factual truth, and we only speak stuff that's backed by documents. You can't change history. There's and the what did I forget to say? The Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and why it has no standing. The application of the Charter, Section 32, in the very first sentence, specifically says this Charter applies to the Parliament and Government of Canada. One red flag. Second red flag, it was never ratified. In order for a constitution or a charter in any form in any country to have any standing in law, it must be ratified, which means accepted by the people. We accept it, let's move on. That never happened here. And the subject to clause has never been fulfilled. It was in the Queen's Proclamation in 1982. The Queen is also a fraud, by the way. She, in 1952, she appointed herself and demanded that the Prime Minister did a proclamation pronouncing her Queen over Canada, which did happen, was a fraud. Our monarchy died in 1901 with Queen Victoria. We haven't had a monarchy since then. There is a massive amount of lies that have been going on for generations of our families, all for greed and power. Multi-millionaires, and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them have been created through this, through these lies that the government have fed us for generations. And until we, the people, get together, stand up, and fight back against it, it's going to continue to happen. I mean, as we know now, with the UN Agenda 21 and 2030, the end game is global depopulation, 7.6 billion to 500 million. And I can guarantee you that everyone in this room is not on that list. Our lives are literally on the line, and most people don't see this, even though it's right in front of our face. The global depopulation I just stated is literally written in stone on the Georgia Guidestones. Please look it up. People have to get involved. People have to start doing some research. People have to start telling people. We here at The Myth are always looking for educators. We're looking for people to learn this information, to do exactly what I'm doing now, to just inform people, educate people, and spread the word. The will of the people, there's no force in the world that is more powerful than us. And all we have to do is get together and do it. And it's not like we have to do the entire of Canada either, or sorry, the landmass known as Canada. With the Statute of Westminster, each province was granted autonomy, which essentially means Alberta is a country. British Columbia is a country. Alberta needs to worry about doing its own constitution. Now remember what I said, it's about the will of the people. Perhaps the will of the people don't want to have a constitution. Perhaps they want anarchy. Perhaps they want communism. There are several different factions of government that we cover as well through this to show people this is what's available to choose from. What personally, what I want to see is a constitutional monarchy, or a constitutional common law is what I want to see. And bring common law back, where I am a man and you are a woman. We have unalienable rights, rights given by God that cannot be sold, traded, or given away. Everybody has them forever. The right to freedom, life, and prosperity. It's a very, very interesting story. And Athena's new with us, but I love Athena because she goes through these documents that we created. We've got 8 modules, and she picks things apart. All the big words that are in these documents that we don't get, we break them down into layman terms so that people have a very clear understanding. Sorry? Someone didn't mute. That's what happened. And that's my 10-minute...
oh, sorry, that was me.
Oh, that's my 10-minute short version of what's happened in Canada's history. And if you do even the slightest bit of research on anything I just said, you will find it to be true and accurate with documented evidence on themythoscanada.com. So, having said that, let's find something to tear apart, Athena.
Unmute. Okay, everyone can hear me. Does anybody have any questions? Don't mind my little looks that I give. My children are sitting at the table eating quietly.
No, you're not.
Well, they were.
Anybody have any questions?
Yeah, anybody?
Okay, perfect. Let's get started. So last Sunday, we went through Module 1, and we went to the middle of Module 1. So just to let you guys know, those that are on today, we're going to continue from the middle of Module 1. I have posted all the modules in the group chat, as well as I have posted the Statute of Westminster, and I have posted the Proclamation, and I have posted the British North American Act of 1830-something. So the information's there. I strongly suggest you do some more digging. Before today's over, I will also show you the website, The Myth is Canada, and how to kind of user-friendly seek some documents there. There's another lady that usually pops on. Her name's Deb, but she also showed me how to find some documents on the government website, even though it's archived. So that was very interesting. Again, I have it somewhere, but I've yet to pull it up again. My files are all over the place.
That's true.
So, shush. So, let's go down to where we left off the last time for module number 1. We left off at about, I think it was here. Nope. Module 1, the history of our country.
Wasn't it the Westminster Section 7?
We did open up the new Westminster, and I do have that one up. Because I'm actually a little bit more organized this time, which is really nice. Okay, so the Statute of Westminster, which is what John was expressing about or talking about, had to do with the fact that this, in my layman's opinion, was where they turned around and said, oops, we effed up. So we're just going to comb through this really, really quickly. Well, not quickly, but we're going to comb through it. Arrangements of sections. So arrangements of sections means that this is how they arrange the sections. These are the topics overall. So, for example, any statute you open up, unless it's been rewritten and stuff like that, the original statute comes with usually definitions, table of contents. Back in this time, it was an arrangement of sections. Hold on one moment. Yep, I understand. Here's some charge cord, guys. You're welcome. So as we look at this section that I'm looking at right now, number 1, meaning of dominion in this act. Validity of number 2, which is kind of not typed in there, validity of laws made by Parliament of a dominion. Now, in case you're wondering what a dominion means, which is what we really should know that definition right off the bat, I have my lovely Black's Law Dictionary. Any legal dictionary will work. Let's get some understanding, clarity for all of us what dominion means. So I'm just going to look it up here. Turn on the phone. D-O. It's like studying with Athena, but you know, I get to geek out. So this is me geeking out. Dominion. Perfect. Okay, and go over here to my camera. Boom. Take a picture. Boom. Go here. I need to go here, there, and you share. Oh, share. Isn't it great you get to listen to me talk? It's like I'm talking to myself, except there's no one on the other side. Okay, perfect. Okay. Dominion. Everybody can see that screen, right? You are screen sharing, so yes. Let's zoom in. Generally accepted definition of dominion is perfect control in right ownership. The word implies, it's not written, it implies both title and possession and appears to require a complete retention of control over disposition. So this is the first definition. So this is where I go into my geek out mode and I break it down. I have a body, and this body, when I communicate with others, can communicate in harmony or disharmony. When I feel harmony, I lean in, I feel closer, I feel like I can trust the other individual, and I can share more about my life through communication. When I feel disharmony, I lean back. I might show different emotions of anger or frustration or even rage. This is my dominion. This body, this vessel, this spiritual being that lives inside of this temple, this is my dominion. And I have right of ownership of my dominion. But it says, it implies both title, Athena Guy, and possession, my body, and appears to require a complete retention of control over disposition. So if I don't have control over my disposition, then one could say I do not have dominion. Anybody have any questions so far? This is very important, right? Because we're looking at the new Westminster Statute. We're looking at why the Queen, Victoria, who had a child who was literally made from the milkman, why she took out Section 2 in the British North American Act that Canada was going to be handed over to her heirs. Why would she do that? Because maybe those people or those heirs lacked the complete control over their disposition. Maybe they, as rulers, heired rulers, lacked their own disposition, so she took that away. Maybe there was a spiritual, esoteric, godly, or universal understanding that when one rules and is honored to rule over a domain, that one must be in true control of their disposition. Just some food for thought. Let's continue on. It goes on to say, it lists a court case, and then it goes on to say, title to an article of property which arises from the power of disposition and the right of claiming it. So I have title, I own property. I have a piece of property I'm part of strata, and I have the right to do what I want with my property. If I want to rent out my unit, I can rent out my unit. If I want to use it as an Airbnb, I could use it as an Airbnb. Unless the statute, unless the Strata Act clearly states that I can't. It does not. Let's continue. It also does not say I cannot put a wood stove inside of my unit. It also doesn't say I can't put solar panels. That gives me the ability to control my domain, and it extends past me. It extends past me. It's past my arms. Now I get to reap what they call the benefits of free electricity. I get to reap the benefits of free heat. So that's me taking disposition of my property and control of my domain. Let's continue on. Sovereignty. Everybody loves to use this word. This word is like a hot potato in everybody's mouth these days. Sovereignty as the dominion of the seas or over a territory. Now, this is where I've got more people on the group chat. I would like somebody to look up the definition of seas. I'd like someone to look up the definition of territory. Because they put sovereignty with a capital S, and then they put a semicolon. And a semicolon means that we are going to now make another statement. It doesn't mean that the two statements correlate. It just means that we're going to make another statement. Sovereignty is a statement. And the next statement would be as, they used a simile, as the dominion of the seas or over territory. Once somebody has the definition of seas and the definition of territory, jump on and speak. I'll continue reading.
I have seas, but I don't know if it's from Google. Do you want Google?
Yeah, girl, bring it on, bring it on, bring it on.
The expanse of salt water that covers most of the Earth's surface and surrounds its land masses.
Read it again.
The expanse of salt water that covers most of the Earth's surface and surrounds its land masses.
So, salt water. They have domain over salt water.
Yep.
If you're not shocked, like if your eyes aren't as big as mine, something's wrong. So you best open them big. Okay, does anybody have the definition of territory?
Yep. A part of a country separated from the rest, comma, and subject to a particular jurisdiction, period. In an American law, period, a portion of the United States, comma, not within the limits of any state, comma, which, and then it goes into imperialism.
Wow.
Lucky you have the Northwest Territories.
Yeah.
Say that again?
How come, say that again?
Like, how do you get the Northwest Territories? They belong to Canada, not to America.
How do we get the Northwest Territories?
I don't know. I think
Isn't that crazy? And if you ever read the statutes or acts or laws that govern the Northwest Territories, your mind would be blown. You'd be like, what?
Is it a whole different, like, laws in a whole different country, or what?
Absolutely. Just like Washington is inside, like Canada, the corporation, does business with Washington, and Washington is only the what is it, the big white building that they had, the Pentagon or whatever, that's it.
that's all that, yeah, that's all that Biden controls.
It's a corporation,
Yeah.
separate from the rest of the United States.
Yep.
Washington State is.
No,
Yes.
the White House.
White House.
Just the White House.
Oh.
That's all that Biden's president of.
So let's go a little bit deeper. Territory, the root of territory, is like terrain, right? Anybody who doesn't know the definition of terrain, the best way to explain it is the ups and downs of the land, right? So, for example, when they cut down all the trees, and they just leave it like that. The terrain is known as
Barren.
barren. That is barren terrain. If a volcano comes and erupts and burns up everything, also
Barren.
if the atomic bomb gets dropped, it's known as contaminated. These are different terrains. And so terrain is a theme. And the theme of terrain has different subjects underneath it. And so a corporation now can become a terrain. And to take dominion over a corporation, because they don't want to blatantly say that, because then they would make the lie very prevalent, it'd be in your face, they have to say that they're going to take dominion over territory. Can you see that? Because essentially they are. They're like, well, we built this building and we put it right here and we gave it coordinates. So, and it's got a property, right? It's got a property outline, a boundary. So this is our terrain. It's like, I always say, there's some cultures out there that have a hard time creating their own stuff. They copy others. There's some people that have a hard time creating their own things. They copy others. So that's what the government is. They copy everything from nature. They use everything they possibly can to take ownership of something. And now they want to copy us, literally. So that is how they explain sovereignty. So your terrain and my terrain fall under a theme called mankind. And we have similar traits: eyes, nose, mouth, ears, arms, feet, etc. And the C within us is our blood. They tell you it's the DNA, but it's the blood. You know, just like the Bible says, the blood of the lamb. If you look up the definition of lamb versus the definition of sheep, lamb is somebody who is of peace and kindness in likeness. Sheep is somebody that needs to be controlled and herded. So already knowing those little historical tidbits of information, you can see that their whole game, their whole demise was to take complete control of us. Because you notice the first word after the first part of the definition, because we need to have what they call disposition. Don't get pissed off. They don't want to see you get mad. They don't like that. Just stay calm. And if you stay calm, you shine the light. And then they turn around after that and say, because if you stay calm and you shine the light, we can't fuck with you. That's pretty much what it's saying. And then they turn around and say, sovereignty. So it's almost though sovereignty is beneath you. Sovereignty is the outcome of you getting your shit together. Does that make sense? And anybody got any questions so far? Because this is really important. Perfect. I'll keep going.
Hey,
Yes.
How would you explain that, like, to a kindergartner? Like,
Jimmy, I understand you're very upset. Do whatever you need to do to express your emotion. This is a safe place. Once you're done, we have to have a real good sit down and talk about what happened, how you felt, and what tools we can use the next time for you to be able to articulate and communicate better.
so that's what this Dominion thing is saying?
Yes, because when Queen Victoria
Okay.
died, she
Yeah.
looked at her son and she's like, fuck,
Yeah.
you a goddamn idiot. I can't have you ruling Canada. Hell no. Write that shit out. That motherfucker is not going to represent my name. I am not going into the grave with that, knowing that person is going to run the country after me. Hell no. And we should all identify with that. There's always somebody you know where you're like, as soon as you see them, you'll be in the store and you're like, hide! get in the car, get in the car. Like,
Yeah.
so you can't you when you start digging into history and you start really reading between the lines, you start to see that some of them that were born in royalty were actually of mankind. They were actually lambs. They exuded peace and kindness. They wanted the best for mankind. Unfortunately, most of those people that wanted the best for mankind lived a very short life. Any questions?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Let's continue on. In the civil law, okay, so now we understand the foundation of dominion. This is a great word. We understand sovereignty. We understand how we control ourselves. We understand the sea within our body is what they want to control, but I have rights to it. This is my right. This is an implied right. You can't go up and punch somebody and think it's okay. Implied means that you know you can't do that. Nobody has to write it down. Nobody has to tell you that. Little Jim that's born and goes up and pokes a kid and the kid starts crying, Jim's automatically going to feel bad because Jim hurt somebody. By seeing the reaction, he realizes his cause had a negative effect. That's natural. Now, they're taking all of that and turning it into something that they can control. In the civil law, with reference to the title to property, which is transferred by a sale of it, okay, a sale of it, dominion is said to, oh, I gotta take a better picture because it got cut off. So sorry. Let me just try this again. Come on, take a picture. Dominion is said to be either proximate or remote. So it's in proximity or it's far away, remote. The former, proximity, proximity being the kind of title vesting in the purchaser when he has acquired both the ownership and the possession of the article. You have a birth certificate. You don't own it. They gave you that birth certificate. Your statement of live birth or your birth registration papers you own. Anything that they give you, any type of certification that they give you, you don't own it. But when you get that and you put that with what you do own, what you have created, anything that you've written down and created, like when they turn around and you go to the bank and you're like, oh, I want to get a mortgage. And they're like, okay, list your assets and all that stuff. That's you taking ownership of what you own. You put the two and two together. Now you've taken ownership of your dominion. You're saying, past this vessel, past this temple, past this body, I'm also responsible for my children. I'm also responsible for my home. I'm also responsible for my car. I'm also responsible for insurance. I'm also responsible for my property tax. You see the extension now? Now that all becomes part of your domain. But because you purchased it, anything you purchased, they can sell behind your back. They're literally saying that. Being the kind of title vesting in the purchaser when he has acquired both the ownership and the possession of the article. So then this is where you're like, okay, I own my car. If you lease your car, you do not own your car. You might be the registered owner on the vehicle, but you don't own your car. If you have a private sale and you pay it outright, you own your car. Any questions so far? Everybody's all so quiet looking around. Any questions?
No.
Okay.
Pretty good stuff. Solid.
Hang on, we got questions.
Okay, go ahead. No, it's just in regards to like ownership of a car, for example. You're saying like if you pay it upright. Okay, no, never mind. My question's answered. Because I was gonna say, like if you, as you said, pay it cash, but like it's the same difference if I
But remember, the catch to the game is that you're the purchaser. So the way that they look at it is though, if you have to go somewhere to get something, I can take something from you. If you can make your own shit, I don't have a right to take anything from you. Now the question you have to ask is, can you make your own car? I can't.
Sure you can.
I've been trying to fix my truck for 7 weeks now. I'm still like procrastinating on that bitch. But anyways. Okay, let's continue on. So now, ownership and the possession of the article. The later article, describing the nature of his title when he has legitimately acquired the ownership of the property, but there has been no delivery. So now, anybody who owns property and has their title, if you have not gone back to the registration office or done any further digging to see if there's any liens on that title, or if anybody is doing any type of contracting on behalf of your name, that's why they call you a purchaser. They're like, oh, okay, you bought this Vaseline. Well, just to let you know, there was a recall on the Vaseline. But if you didn't get the memo, sucks to be you. You own property, you own a house, you own a car, you lease a car. They can take that contract, because there was no money exchanged. Because money doesn't exist, but whatever. There was no money exchanged. You signed a piece of paper saying, you're going to pay off this piece of property. You're going to pay off this car. You're going to be responsible for the financial burden of this asset. Just to let you know, because I didn't take any money from you and you didn't give me any money, I'm going to take this contract and go sell it over here. Like I'm going to go make some money off of it. If you don't like the fact that I'm making money off of something that you already needed from the public to begin with, that's on you. Is anybody confused?
I want to do kindergarten again.
Kindergarten. Okay, Jim. Welcome to kindergarten. Everything in the bed in this classroom, you're welcome to touch, except from what's behind my desk, okay? You're not allowed to touch anything behind my desk. And if I find you touching anything behind my desk, I'm going to have to send you to the principal's office. Oh, and by the way, when you touch things, you have to put it back. If you don't put it back, I'll also have to send you to the principal's office. You're welcome to use whatever you'd like. And when you behave like a special little boy, you might even be able to take it home. But I may always ask for it back.
That doesn't sound great.
Any questions? That's what Jim would say. And you know what the teacher would say to Jim? Well, Jim, if you want your own, Mommy and Daddy have to buy you your own crayons. You're welcome to bring them here, but they might get stolen. Unless you put your name on every single crayon.
They'll still get stolen.
Might. But I, as the teacher, will do my due diligence to make sure if your name is on that crayon, that if I see anybody trying to snatch it, I'll send them to the principal's office.
I like this kindergarten analogy.
This is awesome. Does anybody have any questions? Okay. So, to finish off the definition, under dominion, we have synonyms as ownership and title. So if you have title to something, you have ownership of it. You have dominion over it. Dominion only exists if you have both the title. Remember, you have to have the ownership and the possession of it. So you're the registered owner. That is your certificate of title. And you have the vehicle. There are some people who are the registered owner, but they don't have the vehicle. I.e., if you buy a car for your niece or your nephew or your daughter or your son, you might be the registered owner of that vehicle because of the fact that you have the lien or the loan is in your name. But you have an agreement to help out at, Betty or Susie or whoever, and they have the rights to use the vehicle, but they're not the ownership of the vehicle. So because you don't possess the vehicle, you can't get everything together. Does anybody have any questions? This is fantastic. That means everybody understands what's going on. Let's go back to the other module. Let's go back to the sharing of the module. So now we understand what dominion is. And we're here. The meaning of dominion. Oh, I need to press play on this one. Hold on. The meaning of dominion in this act. Validity of laws made by Parliament of a dominion. The laws made by Parliament of, separate from a dominion. They made laws separate from the dominion. They didn't make laws for the dominion. They made laws separate from the dominion. And the Statute of Westminster is literally saying to you, these are sections, they're saying, this is what we recognize. Because after Queen Victoria died, and she realized that her heirs were just belligerent idiots, she revoked some stuff. Then the Statute of Westminster came, and even though the British North American Act continued on and pretended like nothing was going on, some people woke up and they were like, no, this is wrong. Actually, we found out Queen Victoria, she took this out and she took this out. These motherfuckers have been lying to us. These are the people in Parliament. These are the people these are the crooked people that did something wrong. The good people involved in the crooked people realized something was up. That's why they wrote this new Westminster Statute. And so what they're saying is that these are the things that they realized that have gone wrong. That there were validity of laws made by Parliament separate from the Dominion. Power of Parliament of Dominion to legislate extraterritorial. In other words, they wrote stuff for some type of dominion that was outside of the territory that they were actually discussing. Extraterritorial. It's not even the territory they were discussing. It's extra. It's like when you walk down the street and you just, you bump somebody and somebody bumps you back and you're like, oh my God, look out of your way. And you're like, I'm so sorry. Like, that person's being extra. It was an accident. And that's what they did. These people, because they realized, the evil people that allowed the British North American Act to continue on after Queen Victoria died, the people that were involved in the same group that woke up and realized, oh shit, there's some fraudulent shit going on, and they wanted to bring that to light, they had to show that this was done outside of the scope of what was already there. They found out that Queen Victoria shut the project down, and now these people have been running this illusional projection outside of something that doesn't exist anymore. That's what that sentence is saying. Parliament of United Kingdom, not to legislate for dominion except by consent. Parliament of United Kingdom is a title. The United Kingdom has a parliament. And this is what they're saying, that the Parliament of United Kingdom, they were making laws for the Dominion without consent. And now we're going to show how they were making these laws without consent. And we're going to say they can't make these laws anymore without consent. Any questions so far? You can see why we don't have to go ahead.
Okay, Jim's got a question for you.
I can hear you.
I'm new to this group here, and I didn't catch module 1, so it's probably my own fault. I should probably wait and get.
That's okay. We're going through it. We're going through it.
Okay. I'm just looking at the energy of learning all this, these detailed analogies of what all these is this so it stands up in a law of court or something like that you are nailing down what a territory is and
okay, so I'm reading from a Black's Law Dictionary,
Yeah.
If you want to know whether or not these things stand up in court, you have to go to canley.org or any other court case. And when you go to this website, you type in territory and you put it in parentheses, and you'll see there's a tab that shows up with all the legislations or all the cases where they discuss territory. So depending what jurisdiction of court you're in, their definition of territory will be different.
So why are you going into all this? Is this because you're?
So we needed to understand the definition of dominion.
So that we can take Trudeau to court or something, or?
No. So that we could understand that Canada is a corporation. So we could understand that once we find out the truth about Canada and how it's being operated and how we've been duped, how we as individuals should take back our power of what is rightfully ours, and that's how we should come together to write a constitution, which is a document written for the people, by the people.
And to me, the first most obvious thing is to wake up the rest of the masses that are all still asleep.
Yes. So what I do here is I just comb through the documents like a geek, so that we can have so you eat it's like studying with Athena. That's what it should be called. Studying with Athena. Geeking out with Athena.
Just okay. I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it here.
Does anybody else in the group here want to respond to his questions?
And just for the masses piece, part of waking them up is being educated on what we can have the conversation around them with. And I think this here is to help people who don't understand what's going on be able to have those conversations with people. At least that's how I'm interpreting it and coming to this meeting with.
Yeah, I'd like to add that if you go to the Myth is Canada website, there's a couple of short videos that Doug has. Oh, I put up my. They're videos of Doug doing an interview with Critical Thinker on the website, and he gives in an hour. He gives you a rundown of what actually has happened over the years. So that would be a good starting point for anybody that's new. So I would start there, and I see with what Athena is doing here is really, really well done, like the way she's explaining things and getting everybody to move forward. But yeah, you got to start somewhere, and the two videos. Are the videos not there? On the right side? Oh, okay, they're at the bottom, the way you have your browser set up. But if you watch those two videos, it's both of them together, it's just under an hour. And Doug will explain to you exactly how we've been bamboozled, is the word he likes to use.
Okay, I should probably watch both those videos before I bring up any more questions.
Yeah, but just, you know, what going along with what she's saying here is actually, you know, you're getting some stuff, so it'll start, she's planting seeds in your head, so that's a good start.
Yeah.
Sure, it'll make the videos make more sense to you once you know the wording that's going to be what the video's about, right? So
yeah, I'm just aware of the fact that the meaning of any word in the English language changes as our society changes.
Yeah, well, that's the crime that's taking place, that's been going on for quite a while. But if you refer back to older dictionaries and stuff like that, that's where you'll get more meaning of the actual words and stuff. So refer to older dictionaries. I use Black's 7 and Black's 4 and the Oxford. Actually, one second here. This dictionary here is the one pretty much everybody should get. Going back to English law, it's the Oxford, the Concise Oxford Dictionary. You can see that.
Okay, sounds good. I'll let you carry on. She's doing an awesome job of explaining all these things. I was just trying to look at the value of learning all the detailed linguistics as opposed to.
I thought she might have that.
Yeah. Okay, carry on. on. Sorry, I'm trying to interrupt you.
That's all right. No, go ahead. That's
No interruption. These
Yeah.
are all great questions. Everyone in the group all has a different level of knowledge and a different level of awareness, and we're all trying to figure out what this goddamn rabbit hole we're in.
That's right. And the people that I'm just connected with, and we've got a group up here now, and it's actually a small town in northern Ontario. Well, not that far north of Toronto. They're all new to this too.
Is it Muskoka?
Bancroft.
I know Bancroft.
So that's yeah.
I know Bancroft.
And yeah, they're just all connecting. They're all going to be new to this too. I'm actually recording this video. I'll do or this whole thing, and I'll just do a private video for them to show them. I think they'll really love what you're doing here, and they'll be connecting for sure. You'll see more people jumping on board here soon, and that's what it gets down to. It's about us educating, starting somewhere with this, and moving forward, and hopefully we can accelerate it down the road a lot faster. So kind of time is of the essence. So, but let's just keep the ball rolling.
Yeah, fair enough.
And yes, it would be great to know this knowledge and just go, slam through the doors and just, hang Trudeau. It'd be nice. I'm sure everybody wants that. But the reality of the situation is, the more we learn about this, the more we're going to realize that we are the game.
Yes.
Nothing can be played without us.
That's right. And their worst
As a matter
fear.
of fact, in the Canadian Constitution and the Charter of Rights, which of course isn't written for us, it literally says, we, the Parliament, we're allowed to play this game. You guys are the players. And if at any point in time you don't want to play, you'll suffer a penalty. But by all means, you're welcome to stop playing.
That's a good one. I just
So-
saw what happened in the courthouse the other day, so.
Yes, but the reality is they throw, like, the reality of that situation is they throw this at you to see if you are going to be sovereign, and do you understand your dominion? Do you understand the seas that reside inside your body? Do you understand the territory of mankind? Do you understand the power you possess? Do you understand what has been bestowed upon you as a gift? Do you understand the importance of life?
The basic common denominator is the power of numbers, and if everybody was awakened, then it wouldn't matter the true definition of sovereignty, as opposed to the fact that every single Canadian in this entire country wants Trudeau out of there.
Now, this would be up for debate. We don't want to debate. We don't want to have a conversation where all of a sudden we are talking about something outside of our extension. I have never had a conversation with Trudeau. Like my mother would say, me I know what that man eats for breakfast. All I know is that I brush my teeth in the morning, I wash my face, I make myself presentable, and I need to understand when I go in the world how I show up and how I'm seen. Once we realize individually how we show up and how we're seen, I don't get in my car and see Trudeau flashing across my rearview mirror. Trudeau's a distraction. These courts are distraction. All these people are distraction. They have distracted us for years, for eons.
The war in Ukraine's a distraction.
Right?
Yes.
They say we're asleep, right? They say we're asleep, and remember, they don't sleep. These people don't sleep. They have to play advertisement 24/7 for you to go and buy. There was no power today, and I didn't feel interested in going to the grocery store. Yet, if I would have turned on the computer and watched a YouTube video on building a bus, I would have thought maybe I should go down to the hardware store and see how much steel is. So once you start realizing who's in here and who's talking to you, this is what they want, right?
Controls media, controls the population.
That's right.
Controlled minds.
So, but I'm not population. I'm Athena, last name Guy, middle name Noreen. So what I want might be different than the population.
Right.
What I want is going to be part of what mankind wants. And mankind will be like lambs. We are kind people, and we want the same for everybody. And when lambs come together, they baa together. When sheep come together, they run out in the field like idiots. They run out, and somebody always has to come and herd them back in. You know, so that it's how we're governing ourselves. And if we want to know how to govern ourselves individually, it's written in law. I always tell people I found God through law. I understood the universe through law. I understood nature, like natural law, through law. So it's here. It's right in front of my face. If a woman who is on her deathbed turns around and says, "Do not let Canada be handed over to my son," I feel like it's like John F. Kennedy. I feel like it would be absolutely detrimental for me not to be aware that there are people in these political or powerful positions that aren't godly, that aren't universal, that aren't natural, that aren't of mankind. Or it wouldn't be written here. I mean, if I died today or tomorrow and my kids showed up for the reading of my will and got nothing from that, they'd be pissed off. They would, because I have a good relationship with my children, they'd be like, "What the fuck did I do for this bitch not to leave me anything?" And she already did that prior to dying. She took it out before she died. And that means he knew about it. And that means that he knew she didn't like him. That's dangerous. Like, he's like, "Fuck that bitch," and she's like, "That's why I'm taking you out, because you don't know how to respect your mama. It's because of my vagina I push you out. How dare you disrespect me?" He didn't get that. He didn't get that memo. He didn't understand that. He had no understanding of what it was like to be a son in an honorable position to rule a dominion.
If you don't mind me adding, I'm going to say something, but I didn't want to interrupt you. They were talking about the Bible and how you learned from the Bible and everything.
I don't, but I have to read it sometimes.
Okay, well, common law maxims are defined as principles or axioms, which are indisputable truths, long-established indisputable truths. That's what common law maxims are. And most of them, or a lot of them anyways, were derived from the Bible. Like, a simple one is like, "Hear the other side." Right? A very simple, somebody has an argument with somebody, you go into the court, the judge is a neutral party, he's sitting there and he's hearing both sides. We don't have that today. I've been in the court just fighting for highway traffic related stuff a number of times, and I just was totally flabbergasted as to what I saw. Just for the common law right to use the road, it's already I've already got court case law established. Actually, my website is nomoretyranny.net, and a lot of I got all my cases on there, transcripts of court cases. I give you a detailed view of what had happened in the courts and stuff like that. It's just totally disgusting what actually happened. But I'm going to be making a video there, actually connecting with John and going over some of the things on how to deal with the police and how to stand up and defend your God-given unalienable right to use the road and your God-given unalienable right to own property, such as a vehicle, to travel on that road. So maybe stay tuned for that in the future.
NoMoreTyranny.net.
That's right.
All right, I'll look that one up as well.
Anybody else have anything they'd like to contribute to this lovely conversation? Because it's fantastic.
I think that's going to be the biggest challenge when all this hits the courts, is to get judges that can't be bought.
When the Mythos Canada was brought to my awareness, I mean, I've been studying through and combing through law now for many years, and I'm always at a point where I'm like, what is currently telling the truth? Somebody still in 2022 must be telling the truth. There must be something being told, in the telling the truth. And there's this book I mean, the first edition was written in 1995, and it's called The Invisible Crown. And it says the first principle of Canadian government. And this person that wrote this book, it was the University of Toronto Press, what did they say? For a thoroughly lucid, like Lucifer, scholarly explanation of how the Canadian constitutional monarchy works. What? The Canadian constitutional monarchy works. You see, you lost me and got me at monarchy, because doesn't monarchy mean like one person's ruling it? Like, does it? So then, you just keep reading, and they have to tell the truth. These lovely beings have to tell. I'm being very polite. They have to tell the truth, but they just have to tell it once. And maybe they have to tell it. Maybe they have this secret contract within themselves that maybe they have to tell it once every 10 years. But they only have to tell it once. It's up to us to go and find it. And if we don't want to go find the information, then we need to make sure that we're living very independently off the system. Because if we have to go to the, you see, it's like, you remember when you moved out of your parents' house, or you got kicked out, or whatever it was? There's always that moment where you leave, you're like, I'm never going back there. And then there's a moment you might have to go back, and you sheepishly cower. And you're like, fuck. And it's not because you failed. It's because you know, like every bird, you have to fly a little bit and come back and fly. Our parents don't teach us that. They don't teach us that we're going to fly a little bit and come back. It's more like, it's a lot harder out there than it is in here. Like it's horrible how they treat us. But that's pretty much what the government is. The government gives us so much that when we fly really far away, it's so freeing, it's so liberating, but there's also so much accountability and self-responsibility that it's shocking to the psyche. And so we don't stay. We have to come back, and then we go back, and then we have to come back. Some people stay and they don't care, like that's it. But some people have a really hard time, and they gotta fly, and they're like, no, you know what? I'm gonna fly, but I see the Parliament building over there. I'm okay. This is good, right where I am. Some people fly really far away. Some people even leave this planet. Like you talk to them and they're like 2 shits from the wind. But again, it's all by individual choice. So the reason why I'm showing this section of the new Westminster statute is so that you will eventually go through it and maybe scan the document yourself. And when we read statutes and we read acts, you don't have to, some acts are like 57 pages, or 200 and something pages. Some of them are really good if you're a geek like me. But most of the time people don't got that kind of time. So when you read the section or the overview or the table of contents, you can search, your eyes can search for what you're looking for. We are of mankind. We are truth seekers and truth tellers. That's the connectivity to the one, right? Just like the natural law, all is one. So all is one means there's only one truth. There's only one way you can see something. So when you scan their not unified one documents based on separation and division, you can see the little truths hidden in there. So this particular document is really nice because somebody else has pulled out the lies for us and is listing it. So if we continue on with what it says, we can go to number 5. Powers of dominion, parliaments in relation to merchant shipping. So merchant shipping has to do with a ship comes in and moves the stuff over. And we used to be merchants. All of us used to be merchants. We had our own land. We were growing our own stuff. We shipped our own. As soon as we grew our stuff and we had to bring it to market to sell, we were a merchant. And we decided to partake in commerce. We decided to partake in a common goal of exchange, because you got what I need and I got what you need, so let's exchange. These people that are talking about relation to merchant shipping, they meddled into our personal business. That's literally what that's saying. Powers of dominion parliaments in relation to merchant shipping. So these parliament dominion people, which is not my dominion or your dominion, they're literally saying, yo, they started meddling in your private business. Back in the day, Bibles were used to keep a track of people's family. It was like the family tree. That's what the Bible was. That's why when you read the Bible, they got, this person begot that person begot that person. When we were bamboozled into signing our rights over by allowing the government to keep a track of us. We thought that they were doing just to us. But in actuality, they turned us into a number and a commodity. They got vital statistics to keep a track of us. And let me tell you something about vital statistics. When vital statistics first came out, it came out because of the fact that they had the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that came out. And vital statistics, they turn around and they say, well, how are we going to track all these people? Okay, let's make it simple. We need red-skinned people, black-skinned people, brown-skinned people, white-skinned people, and yellow-skinned people. Literally, that's where the song comes. Red and yellow, black and white, they are precious in His sight. That's where that comes from. The problem with vital statistics when it first came out was that the brown-skinned people, those who were Asian and black, those who were Native and black, those who were Asian and Native, they didn't know what category to fit in. So they're just like, first of all, I did research on this. And one day, the vital statistics came to them in 83 or whatever it was, and knocked on the door and said, hi, we're keeping a track of the population because, the government wants to make sure everybody's getting their fair share. And everybody's like, oh, this is so exciting. Yay. We've got the Charter of Rights now. We're all protected. Little do people know, Charter of Rights only protects corporations, so you would have had to join a corporation to be protected. Huh. And so the lady opens the door. Kid you not, real story. I should find it because it was a good little synopsis. And the vital statistics is there. She was Chinese and Native, I think, or Chinese and black. She was of mixed descent. And so she read the card, and she's like, well, I guess I'd be brown. But if this is how the government is keeping a track of the population, shouldn't he just keep a track of my name and my address? Like, it was just, like mind-blowing that this is what it's like the apartheid movement was knocking at the door, right? So it was very crazy. So then that's when the human rights activists came up and started talking about vital statistics and what they were doing. The problem is that the government went back, unbeknownst to us, and sat down and said, ooh, we got a lot of brown people here. We need to know exactly what their race is. And that's when they started bringing the American slavery shit in, and ugly, just horrid, just ugly. I'm totally digressing. I'm so sorry. Let me get back on track. Number 6. So we were merchants. We all had something to offer to our common man for exchange. And those Parliament Dominion people started to meddle into our private affairs. Number 6, powers of dominion parliaments in relation to courts of admiralty. So admiralty law, please correct me if I'm wrong, has to do with sea jurisdiction. Is this right? Whoever's on the Zoom and whoever knows more about admiralty, please speak up. John, you there? Okay, well,
I think he disappeared a while ago.
Okay, that's fine. Admiralty, now that I know of it, like the gentleman that was saying in Maria's chat there, admiralty has to do with, I did look up the word, but anyways, the way that they project it now, it's like it's administrative process. Administrative process means all the paperwork and tracking of how you do things. But admiralty, I believe, has to do with maritime law, which has to do with the law of the sea, not the law of the land. Because that's like, say, kindergarten-wise, you can't see a boat floating on the road. That's pretty much what it is.
Do you want the definition that I just found?
Yes, please.
It says one capitalized and then the two dots, I don't remember what it's called.
Colon.
Thank you. Colon. The executive department or officers formally having general authority over British naval affairs. And then 2, the court having jurisdiction over questions of maritime law. Also, the system of law administered by admiralty courts.
So in other words, we would have to be on the ocean at all times, 24/7. I'm not on a boat right now. I'm sitting at my table on land. Number 7, saving the British North America Acts and application of the Act to Canada. So the British North American Act is an application. It's like when you go and you cut yourself, you apply a Band-Aid. That's what the British North American Act was to Canada. And they're saying, in number 7, they're saying they want to save the British, not that they want to. Remember, the new Westminster Statute was written to bring awareness to the evil atrocity that was going on. And this is what they're saying. Another evil thing that was done was that they saved the British North American Act and applied it separate from the Act of Canada. Canada had its own act, and they still wanted to go on and put their bullshit on it. Let's continue. Saving four Constitution Acts of Australia and New Zealand. So in other words, Australia and New Zealand, if you were to continue on through this document, they were the ones that meddled into this shit and got involved on an evil side, it seems. Number 9, saving with respect to states of Australia. 10, certain sections of Act not to apply to Australia, New Zealand, or Newfoundland unless adopted. So now they're calling this out, saying, listen, I don't recall Canada adopting this. I don't recall certain places adopting this. So now we're going to give them permission. If they want to adopt this, they can. But as of this new Westminster Statute, sorry, we fucked up. We know you didn't adopt this. We're calling it out. You guys are free to govern yourselves. Number 11, meaning of colony in future acts. And number 12, short title. This new Westminster Statute, I will be bringing up in other modules as we continue learning, but I just wanted to break that section down for you. And I also want you to understand that when you read other statutes or acts, you can just look at the beginning of the original, not the amended ones, an original statute and act, and see what they're talking about. Like, for example, the Bill of Rights was changed, and they added an environment clause in there saying that, you know, we also, your environment is protected as well. Okay, well, first of all, if you're putting acid rain in the sky, and you're supposed to be protecting my supposedly God-given human rights, you ain't protecting me. So now all of a sudden you're making the environment a subject to discuss. Leave the environment alone. Period. So I'm digressing. Let's continue on with the module, shall we? Any questions? Perfect. Let's keep going. Okay, so 1931, the Statute of Westminster, which is what we just read over, them telling the truth, was created by the English Parliament for their dominions, New Zealand, Australia, Republic of Ireland, South Africa, and Canada. As you can read in the preamble, where we will discuss the sections that pertain to the Dominion of Canada specifically. And here we have, let's see if I can zoom in a bit. He even copied out the section. In the New Westminster, in Section 7, and might I add, it's one of the shortest things you'll ever read. There's only 12 sections. He says that, or they say that, nothing in this act shall be deemed to apply to the repeal, meaning peeling back, or amendment, meaning you can't turn around and be like, oh, we're going to change it, or alteration, meaning when you fraudulently change it, of the British North American Acts, 1867 to 1930. So we ain't going to touch that stuff. Or any order, we're not going to touch that either, or rule or regulation made thereunder. So anything between 1867 to 1930, we're not going to touch it. 2, the provisions of Section 2 of this Act shall extend to laws made by any of the provinces of Canada and to the powers of the legislatures of such. Legislatures, people who make the laws, or like I say, people who make shit up. And so what they're saying is the provisions of Section 2 of this Act shall extend to laws made by any of the provisions of Canada and to the powers of the legislatures of such. Now this is where it gets interesting, because you have to wonder, what does Section 2 say? This is where I'm like, see, I'm geeking out. Yeah, my smile can't get any goddamn bigger. Let's go down to Section 2 real quick. The Colonial Laws Validity Act 1865 shall not apply to any law made after the commencement of this act by the Parliament of a Dominion. Any questions? So we all know we were colonized. And they're saying the Colonial Laws Validity Act of 1867 shall not apply to any law made after the commencement of this act by the Parliament of a Dominion. Yeah, we royally raped you up your asshole. We are so sorry. But you know what? We're not going to rape you anymore. We're totally done. Any questions? Okay, let me keep going. I'm going to go back and go back to here. Oh, did I get the right one? Hold on. Just wait. Yes. Right there. And then share. Yes. Okay. Number 3 of Section 7 of the same Westminster Act. The powers conferred by this act upon the Parliament of Canada. I always forget the definition of confer. Could somebody please look it up in the chat and tell me? Let me check my chat here and see if anyone, no questions so far. Or upon the legislatures of the provinces, so the laws of the provinces. So the powers conferred by this act, which is the new Westminster Act, where they blatantly just said, so sorry, our colonial laws, we're not doing it anymore. Upon the Parliament of Canada, or upon the legislatures of the provinces. So we have the Canadian Parliament and the provinces. Shall be restricted to the enactment of laws in relation to matters within the competence of the Parliament of Canada or any of the legislatures of the provinces respectively. We will no longer be involved. We respect your privacy. So sorry. Sorry about the anal rapage. So sorry. Yeah, you guys go. Canada, you do your thing. Provinces, you do your thing. So sorry. I mean, we did make you, like we got ya. So sorry. Didn't know it was that evil. Oh, so sorry. That's really what was going on. I have a question in the chat. 1, this is the definition of confer. 1, grant or bestow a title, degree, benefit, or right. 2, have discussions or exchange opinions. So let's go back. The powers where they have discussions or opinions by this act upon the Parliament of Canada or upon the laws of the provinces shall be restricted to them enacting their own laws and their own governing of Canada or the provinces. Oops. It's none of our opinion doesn't matter anymore. You do you, boo-boo. We'll do us. Anybody have any questions? Okay, I'm going to keep reading. So now we're going down here, and in this module, they turn around and they cite another section in the Statute of Westminster, 11 and 12, and particularly, let's look at 12. This act may be cited as the Statute of Short Title, Westminster, 1931. And 11 says notwithstanding, meaning in spite of anything. Notwithstanding means in spite of. In spite of anything in the Interpretation Act of 1889, the expression colony shall not, in any act of the Parliament of the United Kingdom passed after this starting of this act, include a dominion or province or state forming part of the dominion. So starting now, you guys aren't colonies. Because if you're colonies, then we colonized you, and you'd have to fall under a different jurisdiction. But you know what? We did wrong by you. So, yeah, we're not going to use that word anymore. You know, it's kind of like we no longer call them, what's another word for natives? We don't no longer call them, what's the word? Indians. We call them natives. That's kind of what they're saying. We didn't colonize you. We're not going to say that word. Shh, don't tell nobody. Sorry. You guys are your own dominion now. None of our business. Any questions? Okay, let's keep on going. So the Interpretations Act of 1889 has some great information here, particularly in this module. He's talking about Section 18, Part 3, the expression of colony. So that's really good to read, where it says, shall mean any of Her Majesty's dominions exclusive of the British Islands and British India, and where parts of such dominions are under both a central legislature and local legislature, for the purposes of this definition shall be deemed to be one colony. And then they just go on and explain that. The expression colony shall mean any part of Her Majesty's dominions, exclusive of the British Islands and of British India, and where parts of such dominions are under both a central and a local law-making place. All parts under the... So in other words, we're very distinct now. It's the British Islands and British India. Nowhere in there does it say Canada. This is very important because we were taught in school that we were colonized. And now they're blatantly admitting, oops, we did wrong by you. As there is no intermediate status between that of a colony and of a sovereign state, we already know what sovereign means. That's why I went through that lengthy definition. Any province of Canada is no longer a colony. They must, of necessity, be sovereign states as they come within the requirements set for them in Section 11. And to be a sovereign state, we are of one mankind, and the only option left is to write a constitution for the people by the people. A constitution is what tells the government how we want to be treated and how they're to work for us, not we to work for them. Continuing on. The British government, we got a chat in the question, in each province. In each province. Yeah, Sean, in each province. Sean, what you mean, man? I don't get it. What'd I say?
One sec.
I'm confused.
Oh, sorry about that. No, it was, we have to create constitutions in each province, not Canada.
Thank you.
Sorry.
That's right. That's right. In each province. Okay. No department of the government of the United Kingdom is concerned in any way with the appointment of another Governor General. Explanation of the Statute of Westminster. And then we've got some more writing here by Walter Call. The Parliament of a Dominion in Section 2 does not refer to the legislative body sitting in Ottawa. So in other words, the Parliament of a Dominion, so the Parliament is where they talk about things, and the Dominion, remember, you got control of it, control of what we can talk about, in Section 2, does not refer to the people who make up shit sitting in Ottawa. On December 10th, 1931, the legislative body, people who make up shit, sitting in Ottawa, the day before the Statute of Westminster was passed, according to the Interpretation Act of 1889, this is gossip, Section 18, Part 3, was the central legislature, the central place where they made laws of the United Colony, whose only function and authority was to help and advise the Governor General as the agent of the British government. So they're blatantly telling you, yo, the Governor General was just to help the British government. The Governor General was not supposed to run Canada. Hello. And this is how they write it. This is how they talk to us. Shh, don't tell nobody. Goes on. Section 2 does not validate the central legislature. So to centralize something means that a group of people come together and they're like, let's take off their clothes. Let's just, the emperor with no clothes. Let's just take off their clothes. They won't know what's going on. Fuck it. That's what they were doing. They were making up a soap opera, knowing fully well that they were only there under the authorization of the British government. In other words, the British government is going to tell you how to behave. And the British government now is coming out and saying, you need to behave yourself because that's not what we told you to do. We didn't tell you to go act like no fool, which is exactly why Victoria took her damn son off of the estate. This is exactly why. Because she knew all her heirs coming through were just toxic. We all have that experience where we're born into a family and we're like, was this the right family? And we run to the neck of the woods because we're like, we don't function with this family. It's 8:25. So it doesn't seem like I finished module 1. I feel like I really dug through. Does anybody have any questions? Because, in 5 minutes we got to go. So anybody have any questions?
I don't think so.
So we'll continue on, because this is juicy. This is the longest module, and then after this is like 2 pages. So this is really juicy stuff. I strongly suggest, again, that everybody in the chat read module 1, do your little research, do a little digging, and I'll be back again next Sunday with some more juicy gossip and what this stuff is saying. I mean, look at this little skeleton man down here. Look at him. Yeah, look at me. I look like a snake. I'm sorry. I'm not
Actually, he's one of the good guys.
Okay.
That was Walter Cool trying to bring all this out many years ago.
Okay. So it's 8:26. I did show you the module, not the module. I did show you the website of the Myth is Canada. I'm just going to pull it up again so that everybody can see what that page looks like. Let's make sure I get this. Yes, it's up here. Share. The Myth is Canada. Watch the videos there to get a better understanding. I sent all the modules in the group chat. I sent module 1. I sent the New Westminster. I sent the British North American Act 1 of 1837 or whatever the date is. So scan over that. Time goes by fast when you're having fun, and I will see you guys all next week. Does anybody have any quick questions or comments they want to share before we go?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
That was well done.
Thank you. Coming from you, that's a compliment because you know way more about this shit than I do.
No, actually, I wouldn't go that far. The other fellow in our group, Dwayne, is pretty good, but I've just been too preoccupied with all the other stuff I've been doing, but, I know a fair bit.
That's awesome. Okay, well, it's Sunday, so everyone, let's say goodnight. I bid you adieu, and we'll see each other next Sunday. And I'll correct my stuff so it's not messy on Zoom. So, yes. See you next Sunday, everyone.
All right, take care.
Have a great
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
All right.
Bye.
Bye. Love you all. Bye.